At 76, I've discovered something that society doesn't want us to talk about. The desire for romance, excitement, and yes, even passion doesn't magically disappear when you reach 70. Yet everywhere I look, I see women my age being quietly pushed into an invisible corner, expected to be content with grandchildren, gardening, and gossip over tea. But what about our hearts? What about those feelings of wanting to be desired, to share intimate conversations, to feel that spark of connection with someone special? When my husband died 5 years ago, I thought that chapter of my life was closed forever. I believe the whispers that say women my age should be satisfied with memories and focus on family. What I've learned since then has completely transformed how I see these later years, and it might just change everything for you too. In this video, I'm going to share 5 honest confessions about why women over 70 still seek connection with men, confessions that many of us keep silent out of fear of judgment or embarrassment. These aren't just my personal experiences, but insights gathered from dozens of conversations with women in their 70s, 80s, and yes, even 90s who have rediscovered romance later in life. From the surprising emotional benefits that extend far beyond companionship to the unexpected ways these relationships improve our health and longevity, each confession reveals something powerful about love and connection at this stage of life that most people never discuss openly. Stay with me until the end, because my 5th confession is something I've never shared publicly before. It reveals the most unexpected benefit of finding connection after 70, something that transformed not just my romantic life, but my entire approach to aging. This single insight might completely change how you view your future years, or help you understand an older woman in your life who's seeking companionship in ways that might surprise you. One of the most painful myths about aging is that our need for physical touch somehow fades away. I'm here to tell you that's completely false. The skin hunger, that deep human need for physical connection, remains just as strong at 76 as it was at 26. It just changes form. After Richard passed away, one of the hardest adjustments wasn't just losing my partner of 48 years. It was losing the casual, everyday physical contact that came with marriage. The gentle touch on my shoulder as he passed by, holding hands while watching television, the comfort of falling asleep next to someone. These weren't just habits, they were lifelines of connection that suddenly disappeared. Many people assume that older women seeking relationships are primarily looking for financial security or help with daily tasks. But for most of us, it's much more basic and human than that. We miss the feeling of being held, the comfort of skin against skin, the sense of safety that comes from physical closeness. Take my friend Eleanor, 82, who started dating again after a decade of widowhood. I was financially secure, she told me. I had a system for managing household tasks. What I couldn't replace on my own was someone to dance with in the kitchen, someone whose arm I could take while walking through the garden. The science supports what we feel intuitively. Studies have shown that regular physical touch reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and even boosts immune function, benefits that become even more crucial as we age. Touch releases oxytocin, that powerful bonding hormone that creates feelings of trust and connection. But here's what surprised me most. Allowing myself to acknowledge this need for touch was the first step toward feeling truly alive again. Instead of seeing myself as past that stage of life, I recognized that the desire for physical closeness is part of being human at every age. Let's talk about something that makes many people uncomfortable: sex after 70. Society has conditioned us to believe that sexual desire is exclusively for the young, that passion naturally fades with wrinkles and gray hair. I'm here to tell you that for many women, the exact opposite is true. When I was in my 40s and 50s, juggling career, family responsibilities, and household management, sex often felt like another item on my to-do list. There was always something more pressing demanding my attention, and frankly, I was usually too exhausted to feel particularly passionate. Now, in my 70s, those pressures have lifted. I have time to focus on what brings me pleasure. I've developed a comfort with my body that I never had in my younger years when I was constantly comparing myself to impossible standards. And most importantly, I've let go of the idea that desire should look a certain way or follow certain rules. Margaret, a 74-year-old woman I met at a senior center writing class, put it beautifully. In my 30s, I was so worried about how I looked naked that I could barely enjoy intimacy. Now I couldn't care less. That freedom has made everything so much more satisfying. What many younger people don't understand is that physical connection at this age comes with a depth that only decades of life experience can bring. Without the distractions of raising children, building careers, or social climbing, we can be fully present with a partner in ways that weren't possible before. This isn't just about physical pleasure, though that certainly matters. It's about the joy of being seen and appreciated as a whole person, including as a sexual being, rather than being dismissed as past your prime. When society expects women over 70 to be sexless grandmothers, finding someone who sees and desires the complete woman you are becomes revolutionary. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. The third confession is perhaps the most serious. Loneliness isn't just an emotional discomfort for older women. It's a health crisis that can be more dangerous than many physical ailments we worry about. When my doctor told me that chronic loneliness increases the risk of premature death by 26%, I was stunned. That's comparable to the risk associated with smoking 15 cigarettes a day and greater than the risks of obesity or physical inactivity. Yet, while we have countless campaigns about heart disease, cancer screening, and diabetes prevention, we rarely talk about the health emergency of isolation. For women over 70, this risk is particularly acute. Many of us have lost spouses, watched friends' circles shrink, and seen adult children move away. The pandemic only intensified this isolation, leaving countless older women essentially confined and alone. Barbara, a 78-year-old former nurse I know, tracked her own health metrics after her husband died. She noticed her blood pressure climbed, her sleep quality deteriorated, and her inflammatory markers increased, all without any changes to her diet or exercise routine. The only significant change was the loss of daily companionship. 6 months after I started dating again, she told me, every single one of those measurements improved. My doctor was amazed, but I wasn't surprised at all. Research from Harvard's Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on aging, confirms what Barbara experienced. The quality of our relationships is one of the strongest predictors of health and happiness in later years. Good relationships don't just make us happier, they literally protect our bodies from the damaging effects of life's stresses and challenges. This isn't just about having someone around. It's about having meaningful connection. When I started seeing Robert 2 years ago, my daughter initially assumed I just needed company. What she didn't understand was that random company wouldn't have provided the health benefits I've experienced. It's the emotional intimacy, the feeling of being truly known and valued, that creates the physiological benefits. For women over 70, seeking male companionship isn't a frivolous pursuit of romance. It can be a legitimate health strategy that addresses one of the most significant mortality risks we face. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of why women over 70 seek relationships is our continued need for growth, novelty, and even adventure. Somehow our society has accepted the toxic idea that aging means settling into comfortable routines and gradually disengaging from life's excitements. I spent decades as a high school English teacher, surrounded by teenage energy and constant intellectual stimulation. After retirement, I found myself missing the feeling of being challenged, of seeing new perspectives, of having my thinking pushed in unexpected directions. Many women find that new relationships in their 70s provide exactly this kind of stimulation. Meeting someone new means discovering different interests, diverse viewpoints, and novel experiences. It pushes us out of comfortable patterns and reminds us that growth doesn't end at any particular age. My friend Judith, 81, started dating a 75-year-old retired marine biologist 3 years after losing her husband. "Harold has taken me snorkeling for the first time in my life," she told me, beaming. I'm learning about ocean ecosystems and environmental conservation. My grandchildren are amazed at how much I know about coral reefs now. The mental stimulation that comes from these new connections isn't just enjoyable, it's essential for cognitive health. Research increasingly shows that novel experiences and learning new information creates new neural pathways, potentially reducing dementia risk and keeping our minds sharp. William, a 79-year-old widower I met through a mutual friend, introduced me to jazz music after we'd been dating for a few months. I'd always been a classical music enthusiast and had never given jazz much attention. Now we attend performances together, and I've developed a whole new appreciation for musical forms I once dismissed. This kind of growth keeps life interesting and meaningful no matter our age. The woman I was at 40 needed stability and security. The woman I am at 76 has those things. What I need now is continued intellectual engagement and the joy of discovering new aspects of life. A relationship that encourages adventure and growth isn't a luxury for women over 70. It's essential nourishment for our minds and spirits. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. My 5th and most personal confession may surprise you. Many women discover that relationships after 70 offer healing for emotional wounds we've carried throughout our lives, sometimes for decades. By the time we reach our 70s, most women have experienced disappointment, heartbreak, compromise, and loss. We've survived marriages that may have been loving but imperfect, raised children through challenges, navigated careers despite barriers, and weathered countless storms. These experiences leave marks on our hearts and psyches. What I never expected was how a new relationship in my 70s would help heal wounds I'd carried since my 20s. The relationship I have now with Thomas is unlike any I've experienced before, built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding that only comes with age and wisdom. For the first time in my life, I feel completely accepted for exactly who I am. There's no pressure to be prettier, quieter, more accomplished, more patient, or more anything. The games and power struggles that complicated earlier relationships have fallen away, replaced by honest communication and genuine appreciation. My friend Catherine, 77, shared a similar experience. Her first husband had been emotionally distant, often dismissing her feelings as women's hysteria. She spent 32 years in that marriage, gradually shrinking herself to avoid conflict. 2 years after being widowed, she met Gerald, a kind and attentive man who delighted in hearing her thoughts and validating her experiences. I didn't even realize how much I'd been holding back until I found myself freely expressing opinions with Gerald, she told me, tearing up. It was like finding my voice after decades of whispering. This kind of late-life healing isn't just emotionally satisfying, it can be transformative. Research in developmental psychology suggests that resolving long-standing emotional conflicts actually creates a sense of completion and integrity that defines successful aging. For me, finding connection with Thomas after decades of believing certain wounds would always remain has been the most unexpected gift of my later years. It's shown me that healing is possible at any age, that growth continues until our final breath, and that it's never too late to experience love that affirms our complete selves. This is why so many women over 70 continue to seek meaningful connection, not just for companionship or physical needs, but because something in us knows that we deserve to experience love that sees and celebrates all that we are before our time on earth is complete. Now that I've shared these 5 confessions about why women over 70 still seek connection with men, our need for touch, our continuing sexual desire, the health impacts of loneliness, our thirst for adventure and growth, and the healing potential of late-life love, I want you to reflect on what this means for how we view aging in our society. For too long, we've accepted the narrative that a woman's value is tied to youth, that our need for romance has an expiration date, and that the later years should be defined by gradual withdrawal from life's passions. These harmful myths don't just hurt older women. They diminish our entire culture by wasting the wisdom, vitality, and love that mature women have to offer. Whether you're a woman approaching or already in this stage of life, someone who loves an older woman, or simply someone interested in understanding the full human experience, I hope these confessions have expanded your perspective on what's possible in our later years. Age doesn't diminish our humanity or our hearts. The woman of 75 contains within her the same dreams, desires, and needs as the woman of 25, just expressed through the rich filter of decades of experience and wisdom. If there's one thing I've learned in my 76 years, it's that the capacity for joy, passion, and connection doesn't diminish with age. It deepens. And those of us brave enough to seek these experiences, despite society's expectations, discover that the heart never grows too old for love. Thank you for joining me today for these honest confessions. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one insight you gained or perhaps an experience you've had with love and connection later in life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. In our next video, we'll explore another often ignored aspect of aging: how to navigate family relationships when you choose to prioritize your own happiness in your later years. Until then, remember that it's never too late to open your heart to new possibilities. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.